Hey friends, welcome to the Taken Back Church and State podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Smith. It is my mission to empower and equip Christians to confidently participate in politics with the leading of the Holy Spirit. This podcast is here to inspire, empower, and equip the people of the church. So join me as we dig into the two most controversial topics on the planet. So are you ready? Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to the Taken Back Church and State podcast. I am so excited you're here today. I have a guest, George Burroughs. We are here to just hopefully inspire and equip you to participate in politics with the leading of the Holy Spirit. So, George, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hey, Jessica. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me on. I'm excited to
Absolutely.
speak with you and your listeners. I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 36 years. That's what I do for a living. Of course, I'm a Christian, and I felt God lead me into a drugless profession, and I chose chiropractic. It seemed like a natural fit, and I'm thrilled that he did, and I've
Yeah,
loved
me
it.
too. I'm very thankful he did.
Well, thank you.
So I always like to ask my guest this one specific question, but what role do you believe politics should what role do you believe the church should play in politics?
Oh, that's a good question. I Some of my friends and patients are shocked because I'm very strong in my Christian faith, but I actually believe in a separation of church and state.
Hmm.
But what I mean by that, when I say that to people, I don't think you can legislate morality.
Hmm.
You tell people how to behave based on morals. We've got laws, of course, that are based on morals. You can't
Hmm.
kill, but I think that but I don't believe that the church should be out of politics. What I mean that by that is each one of us, we should be strong in our convictions, and that should be based on your faith, whatever your faith may be.
Hmm.
And then you should, first of all, live a life that is so exemplary, but more so inspiring that people want to be like you as a Christian,
Hmm.
not because they're required to by the government.
Yep.
Now, the other side of that is this, though. The government goes way too far many times telling us how to live our lives in a way that conflicts with my faith.
Hmm.
And that's where I have a problem. So I have a problem when they tell me I can or cannot do something that is based on the Bible.
Yep.
That's not for them to tell me. So I believe it's important for Christians, to be involved in politics. But again, I say that not to legislate morality, but to make sure that my ability to live my life morally is not being inhibited.
Okay. Love it. Great answer. So, tell us a little bit about, I know, so I have been a patient of Dr. Burroughs for several years. I don't even know how long, more years, 9. So pushing probably 9 years now. That's just crazy. And so when you go into your doctor's office, you kind of get to talking and you learn more about each other. And so some of the things that we have in common is we've both had babies at home, but tell my listeners a little bit more about what specifically led you to get involved in politics in the first place.
Well, my first child was born, my daughter Brooklyn was born in 1991. And my wife, she was open to the idea of having a midwife.
Hmm.
She wasn't 100% comfortable because it was all new to her.
Hmm.
But we had these great conversations because the Bible, there's midwives in the Bible.
Yeah, they're
Being pregnant,
named.
a woman, yes, it's not a disease to be pregnant.
Hmm.
It's not a sickness.
Yep.
It should not be something that you are forced to go to a hospital for. I think
Mhm.
that's insane. Now, I'm not opposed to a woman going to a hospital. That's her
Yep.
choice.
Hmm.
But for the government to tell you you cannot go to a hospital is wrong. So with our first child, again, it was my daughter in 1991, my wife wasn't quite fully comfortable, and that was fine. So she had the baby born here in Mobile at a hospital.
Hmm.
But then after that birth, she said, "Oh my gosh, I could do this at home." Like, a
Yeah.
lot of the fear gone. So we moved to Pennsylvania for 2 years. I had an opportunity to work with a brilliant chiropractor in Pennsylvania. In fact, we had a lot of Amish people as our patients,
Hmm.
and I got to know them really well. They were fabulous. It was very interesting. And one lady was a midwife, an Amish midwife. She had delivered over 2,000 babies
That's so
at home.
crazy. That's wild. I love it though.
Yeah, yes, but that's what she did. And the Amish were all born at home. So I asked her if she would deliver our child.
Hmm.
And the funny thing with Jessica, she said this. She said, well, I will, because she knew us, she was
Hmm.
comfortable with us. She said, I will, but I can't charge you for it. She
Really?
said, I'm not, yes. She said, I'm not allowed to charge because then it's like a business. She
Uh-huh.
said, but you can give me a donation.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool. So
That is cool.
yes, but like so even like legally, she did not charge us for
Hmm.
um, home birth. But so my son Bradley was born in the end of August 1992 at the home of an Amish midwife, and it was now it's easy for a man to say this, the dad, but I'm sitting out on the front porch. It's just after midnight. I'm holding a baby girl. She's 13 months old. I'm holding her outside on a beautiful, beautiful, late August night. And the stars, the air, it's central Pennsylvania. And, my wife gave birth without any electricity, even,
Yeah.
by candlelight for a woman who had no drugs, the midwife. And it was the most beautiful and honestly like one of the most sacred occasions of my life. It was just beautiful. So a couple of years later, we were back in Mobile, and my wife, we had our third child. So she was all going home. Of course, she wanted a midwife. I wanted a midwife.
Yep.
And lo and behold, they tell you, and this is 1996. The end of 95 is when we started looking into it when she was pregnant. And Alabama says, no, you're not allowed to have a
Hmm.
midwife.
Yep.
And actually, Jessica, the law said you're not allowed to plan a home birth.
That's
You cannot
correct.
plan. So, and the wording there made sense because if a woman was planning on going to the hospital and her water broke or she had the baby at home by accident, that's not a crime, of course.
Hmm.
And I understood that. And people said, well, just have it at home. Get a midwife, just have it at home. And just don't tell anybody. Say that you planned for a hospital birth.
Hmm.
And I thought, no, that's lying. I'm not going to, why should we lie?
Yes. Why should we
Why,
have to
why,
lie? There's that. Those are, why should I lie? But why should I have to lie about it?
exactly. Why should we have to lie?
Hmm.
The Bible is very clear. Midwife is biblical. I'm not telling other people. My wife wasn't telling other people they should have it at home. We had a qualified midwife. We said, we want to do this at home. And I said, I'm not going to do it in secrecy.
Hmm.
And I called up the district attorney of Mobile and I said, hey, my wife and I are having a baby. We're going to have it at home. And I know that's against the law. What's the penalty? And he was taken aback. I actually spoke to him and he's like, I don't know what the penalty is, but you'll get arrested. And I said, well, you can arrest us because I'm doing it. We're doing this.
Hmm.
You know.
Okay, so
Now,
and this is in 96, and in 96, the parents could get arrested as well.
oh yeah,
Oh, that's crazy. That is
yes,
bananas.
yes,
Okay, that is, I didn't even know that. That's wild.
yes. It's against the law. Like, and I even said to him, if I rob a bank, you give me 20 years in prison. Like,
Uh-huh.
what's the penalty? And he didn't know, of course, but like he said, you'll be arrested. Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
but I'm like, okay, we're doing this. And this was God is so good though, because at this point, I said, you know what, this is wrong. And honestly, Jessica, I'm not a very political person
Hmm.
in the sense that I don't, scream my politics to people,
Yep.
Democrat, Republican, pro or con. But I don't want people telling me what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
And to not be able to follow the Bible, and I'm a healthy man, my wife's a healthy woman,
Hmm.
the pregnancy fine. Why can't we choose to have this baby born at home? This is ridiculous. So again, I didn't want to lie about it. I didn't want to hide it. I said, we're going to sue the state of Alabama because
Hmm.
this is wrong. Now, when you sue the state, it's very seldom that the federal courts have to listen to, because you're suing the state. You don't go
Yep.
to a
Hmm.
state court. And the federal government, and I don't blame them, they're not going to take every case. Like, people want to sue the state over everything.
Hmm.
So just first of all, they decided, okay, we'll take this case. This is a good case.
Hmm.
This is legitimate. So we decided to sue the state of Alabama. And this is like right before the internet was, there was no Google or anything. The internet was just coming out. This is not like late 95 when we filed the lawsuit. So I went to South Alabama's medical library, and I wanted to know everything that was like a real study about the use of a midwife,
Hmm.
the safety and all. I wanted to be prepared. And there was about 9 studies, like 9 legitimate, studies in real medical journals.
Hmm.
And every one of them, to my shock, every one of them was supportive of midwives when you have a trained midwife and a healthy pregnancy. I
Surprise,
was shocked.
surprise.
Yes, this is awesome. Like, so we're ready to go. We were ready to go. So we go to court. Well, the newspapers got a hold of it, TV stations, and they actually covered it, which was really kind of cool.
Hmm.
And it went on for several days. We even got a phone call from ABC in New York. They wanted to
That's
come
crazy.
down and do. Yes. Well, at this point, I was going to blatantly break the law,
Hmm.
because I told my midwife I could not put her through this, and she agreed, because I didn't want her going to jail.
Yeah.
I didn't want the
That's a
midwife going to
decision for her to
jail.
make. Yep. Yep. You're
Yeah,
willing to,
and
but she's an additional party.
yes, and she was married. I knew her husband and her kids. Like, she can't
Yeah.
do that. So I said, okay, I'm going to deliver this baby. Now, that's not the message we were trying to send. Not, okay, I'm a chiropractor. I know anatomy and physiology inside out. I could deliver a baby,
Hmm.
but that's not the message. Like,
Correct.
it's
Hmm.
not dads to be delivering the baby at home, or a chiropractor. So I never even mentioned that I was a chiropractor. But I was ready to deliver this baby because I wanted to be arrested. Like,
Hmm.
I wanted to make a statement, because this is wrong.
Yeah. I love
You know,
that
this
fire.
is
Like, I
this is
want to be
wrong.
arrested, or please arrest me.
Yes, like, because I wanted, the attention was great.
Yeah.
So ABC, one of those shows, I forget which one, they would have come down and like be there when the baby was being born, and be like, and I'm like, no,
So
that's too
crazy.
much invasion of privacy. So anyway, but God is good, because that really wasn't the message we wanted. And the day my wife's water broke, no, excuse me, the day she started having serious contractions,
Hmm.
like, this baby's coming, her water would not break. I mean, her water just would not break. And we're at home. Her mom came and took our other 2 children. And we're like, Lord, please. And I'm ready to deliver this baby. Like, I
Hmm.
am ready. The water wouldn't break. And then I was like, okay, Lord, I get it. It's not the message for me to deliver this baby. Let's go down to the hospital.
Hmm.
So we go to the hospital, and fortunately, it was I think women are better at delivering babies. We had a female doctor who was there,
Hmm.
Dr. Ruth Shields. And so we get there, and we're the only people ever, I think, as we drive into the hospital, praying for the baby to come. Not
Most people
like
are,
you would drive.
are praying to like
Yeah.
maybe. So I also know a lot of people who went across state lines, and that's opposite of their prayer. Their prayer is, Lord, let me make it across the state lines to have this
Yes,
baby, not on the side of the interstate.
yes. So, but we get to the hospital. They take her, and so I'm at the front desk there, and the lady's like, "Okay, who's her doctor?" I said, "Well, she didn't have one." "Well, who did her prenatal care?" I said, "Well, we did it ourselves." "Well, who's supposed to deliver the baby?" I said, "Actually, I was going to." Oh, they were so mad at me. And then one of the ladies there says, "Well, wait a minute. You're that guy that's been on TV, you
Oh
and your
gosh.
wife." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yes.
So anyway, they then were very nice. She delivers the baby, and this part's funny, Jessica. She delivers the baby. The doctor was very nice because they don't care about the politics.
Hmm.
The baby, the delivery was fine. Everything was fine. So the next day, they kept her overnight. She's going to go home that next day. And they said, okay, before you leave, we have to have a social worker come and talk to you because you refused the vaccine, the
Hmm.
hepatitis B vaccine.
Hmm.
And even back with my first, like I was anti-vaccine back in the 80s. Like
Hmm.
I've never believed that those were a benefit, especially to a healthy child. But more importantly, I don't think that should be forced on you.
Correct.
I've never told the patient not to vaccinate. Just don't tell me I need to vaccinate.
Correct.
So my other two children had not been vaccinated. In fact, they had none of my three children ever visited a pediatrician ever. They were
Hmm.
never sick. That's another story. But so here we are, we're declining, the vaccine that first day, and declining anything they wanted to do. It's just like no, no, we're fine. So they say, okay, we got to have a social worker come talk to you. And I'm like rolling my eyes, like someone's going to give me a hard time about this.
Hmm.
And so this lady walks in, and you don't know, like, if it's going to be DHR involved. Like, they're afraid that we're not going to give our kid vaccines. And this is 1996. So this woman walks in, the social worker lady, and then she stops and looks at me and says, Dr. Burroughs. And I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's one of my best friend's wife. And her whole demeanor just got so relaxed. She came in expecting like
A fight.
to have to,
She came in to
yes,
fight.
yes. And she didn't realize it was me. And I didn't realize it was her. And instantly, that's God. Like
Totally.
all tensions melted. She said, I just got to go through these questions. You're fine. It's nothing. And that was beautiful. And then the last little part of this is, so we're ready to go home. And they put, my wife in a wheelchair just to help, she's holding the baby and we'll wheel
Hmm.
you out. And one of the nurses comes in and says, NBC News is downstairs. They want to interview you guys.
Gosh.
And I'm like, that's fine. So the nurse gets behind the wheelchair and says, "Oh, I'll wheel your wife down." And then another nurse says, "Oh, I'll help." Like they're all excited to be on
Now
TV.
yeah.
Yeah, so we get downstairs, we did an interview, and it was great. So we didn't break any laws, but we did fight for that right. And even the same with the vaccines. When my kids started school, the principal thought, she told us years later, she thought we were crazy.
Hmm.
But we had to go down to the Board of Health, get a exempt form, and just do it. And they didn't give me
Hmm.
a hard time about that, but they knew not to.
They do now.
Like when you know what you're doing, there's a spirit to you.
Yeah.
God was with me when I went down to Board of Health. But anyway, but back to the original question about like politics and church, how involved should church be? Um, Again, I do believe in a separation of church and state, but I think we as Christians have to be very bold and strong about what we believe, not
Yes.
to force it on other people, but do not tell me I can't practice my faith. Do
Correct.
not legislate faith.
That's right.
That's where I get very, very strong. You don't
So
have to vaccinate. You don't have to do a home birth,
whatever happened
but
to
don't.
the court case? Where did it end up going?
Yes. So the court case, thank you. The judge was great. He really was great because he listened.
Hmm.
He really did listen. And he said, you're asking me to overturn a state law.
Hmm.
And he said, I just don't feel like there's enough evidence to overturn it. We weren't asking him to make a law. Do,
Hmm.
do you know what I'm saying? Just like the
Yeah, I
law was
do.
already, yes. And
Yeah,
that's
let's
so
explain
you
it a
got.
little bit further for the people who maybe don't understand. So, I am involved in the legislative work on all this stuff, so I definitely understand. But you've got three different branches of government, and it's the same at the federal level as it is at the state level. You've got your executive branch, your judicial branch, and your legislative branch. The our founding fathers intended for the main power to be inside of the legislative branch where laws are made that govern the people, but your checks and balances are your executive branch and your judiciary branch. And so what he was concerned about is that there was a law that's what's called codified, which means that it's like
Right.
it's solid. The people have voted on it, even if it was just their representation that voted on it. And so you were asking him to overturn something that's meant to be the main source of power inside of our state. So you were asking a really big thing of him.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And the fact, like I said earlier, that they even took the case was a victory.
Yes.
Uh, the fact that he, and again, I can't prove this to people. I know he listened. He actually truly listened, gave it a lot of thought. We got so much publicity from it. I
Hmm.
had one guy, I'll never forget, we were at a gas station and this man and his wife came up and they recognized us. This is when we had just been on TV though. And they were like, we would never have a home birth. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we support your right to do that. That's
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah, that's so
So
amazing.
it got the ball rolling like further down the road to, now it's so much better, thank God. But I think it really made a difference. Like
Yeah.
people, we were heard, this back when the newspaper was obviously every day, the news. So
Hmm.
we were on local news, we were in the newspaper, and it really, really got people to question, like, wow, a home birth. Yeah, they
Hmm.
make some good points. Being pregnant's not a disease.
Correct.
Being forced to go to a hospital, that's really against my rights.
Yep.
It's We really made a lot of leeway. I was not upset with the judge, and it worked out beautifully. Like I felt God's hand was there. It was not about a man delivering a baby and me going to
Hmm.
jail. That wasn't the message, and I think so. It was perfect. It was
I
perfect.
love that. Some of the things I keep thinking of while you're saying this is how this was in 96, and I want to say it's in 97 or 98 is when a midwife in Alabama got arrested for delivering a baby at home. So just to kind of give everybody a little bit of back history, the medical professionals, not midwives, but medical professionals are licensed by our state. So, like your license for your chiropractic comes from a state board that issues that license to you. But midwives were licensed through the Department of Public Health. Somewhere about the mid 80s, there was this overlap in some slightly possibly controversial conflict of interest things that were happening where you had more, I'm going to call them medicalized births, which are births that are in a hospital where you're given pitocin and you're monitored constantly. And so there wasn't necessarily anything that happened to remove midwifery from the state of Alabama, but what happened was this slow fizzle out, and so they just quit licensing midwives. A lot of them continued to practice underground, and one of them got arrested in the late 90s. So, in 2004 is when the Alabama Birth Coalition was founded and when they started their legislative lobbying effort to overturn the law and overturn the court hearing because the midwife did get reprimanded for what she did for practicing medicine without a license is what she got in trouble for. And so it was a pretty big charge that she had slapped on her. And so it took from 2004 to 2017 for what you started to do to see fruit. And it takes time like that. So thank you for being bold enough for just listening to the conviction of the Lord to say that this is not right. I need to speak out about it and to highlighting and bringing publicity around that. I'm thankful. I've had my babies at home because of the efforts of every person who decided to speak up on behalf of midwifery in our state.
Yes, well, that's true. And as you saying that, there was a midwife. I moved here at the very end of 1989, and before that, there was, I want to say her name was Ona May, who
Hmm.
delivered
Yeah.
a black woman. She delivered a lot of babies,
Hmm.
and nobody bothered. They didn't,
Hmm.
like you said, it kind of was no law. Then there was a woman, Tony Kimple, in the 90s, and she got arrested. She was great. She was a midwife.
Hmm.
You would know the colleagues of her colleagues. You know who they are.
Yeah.
Like they're still. But Tony, a female, Tony Kimple, she had a woman that a pregnant woman, and right before she gave birth, she saw signs of distress.
Hmm.
And she said to the woman, we got to get you to the hospital. And they got to the hospital, no problem, like
Hmm.
no problem. And the hospital, took her, and they found out the pulse was going down in the baby.
Hmm.
Well, as that baby was descending, and this unfortunately happens, the cord wrapped around the baby's neck.
Hmm.
And that's one of those horrible things. Has nothing to do with a midwife or a hospital birth.
Just one of the natural
And
physiological things that can happen.
it happens. And the baby, it was a stillbirth. The baby was born dead, which
I'm
is
so
horrible.
sorry. Yeah.
So what they did, they arrested the midwife
Hmm.
and charged her with manslaughter.
Yeah. What year was
Now,
this? Y'all were
this was,
here.
yes, this was in the early 90s.
Okay.
And this was, this is what makes it so bad. It's front page headline news in the newspaper.
Hmm.
Midwife arrested for manslaughter. Now, they knew that charge wasn't going to stick. They knew they just wanted the bad publicity for it. Like
Yeah.
they knew she did nothing wrong. And of course she was found she wasn't
It,
guilty of anything. She
yeah.
did nothing wrong. But the damage was done. But here's
Because
the
the news
funny
was
thing,
out. Yeah.
not funny, but the crazy thing. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that
Yes.
because the
So
publicity was
here's
already
the
out.
crazy
You can't
thing.
take back the news articles.
For a
Sorry, I think it's
that
glitching up.
that's why they did
Yeah.
it. But here's the crazy thing about it. That's no, I'm good now. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yep, I can. All right. Yep, go ahead. Tell me your crazy
Are
thing.
you good?
Yep, I can hear you now. It keeps slowing down for
So
some reason.
here's the here's the crazy thing. Well, forget a person's viewpoint on abortion for a second. Forget
Hmm.
a person's personal view. But in the state of Alabama, that baby's not a baby. It's not a human being until it's born.
Hmm.
Okay, like by state law. I'm not talking about our personal opinions.
Hmm.
So by law, you can kill that babe, quote unquote, baby, because it's not a human being. Abortion in the United States, especially in the early 90s, is legal in every state.
Hmm.
So you could kill it, but if it dies in the womb, it's literally impossible to be charged with manslaughter because it's not a human being
It's crazy.
in their eyes, in the
Yep.
eyes of the
I know.
court.
I know.
They knew they couldn't charge her with manslaughter because it never this child, according to the state, was never a human being because it never lived outside of the womb.
Hmm.
So if it's not a human being, you cannot be charged with murder, manslaughter.
Yep. Hmm.
So they knew it wasn't going to stick, but like you said, they just wanted the negative press.
Yes.
So it's like, wait a minute, you're telling me, and even when we went to court, the district attorney said, well, we understand people would have a midwife, but we have to protect the health of the unborn child. And I'm
Hmm.
laughing, thinking, oh, you can kill the unborn child. You just can't choose to have it born with a midwife. You can't have it both ways. Like, that's, first of all, that is a human being. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yes. To
in
bring that
my
back
mind, your
in.
mind, that's a human being. That's a
Yep.
life. But I'm
Hmm.
saying the state is saying it's not a human being. Yes, the state says that's not a human being until it exhibits life outside of the womb. And if that's their definition, then you cannot be charged with manslaughter because then you did not kill a human being. So
Yep.
even if somebody did something, so they are so corrupt, and the
They
medical
are.
profession was behind it. They're behind it, and it's just was horrible. And like I was like, that is so wrong. And I remember when that happened, thinking, and I knew that midwife very well and her husband, and I'm like, that is just wrong. And
It
they don't
is.
get any chances. And again, nothing ever happened of it. They dropped all the charges because there was no charge. There was nothing. But
Yeah, but
like you
her
said, the
name was in I
damage.
mean, she should have sued the
Yes,
state for damages to her
yeah,
name.
but
Yeah, you're
yeah,
not going to win. Yeah,
exactly.
you're
But
not going to win. But I mean, what happened was it didn't
no,
just damage this concept of midwifery and having your babies at home in the state of Alabama. It didn't put a pin in that one. It also ruined this woman's life.
yes, in fact, they ended up moving to Texas.
Yeah, but yeah, where there just I came from Texas and I was in a restaurant and there was a random person at a table and she literally had on like scrubs that had like birth center on it. I don't remember the name of the birth center, but I'm like, I even walked up to her. I was like, I just want to introduce myself. I know I seem like a crazy person, but midwifery is just taking off in the state of Alabama where I'm from, and it's so great to just see you with like I mean, it was obvious that it wasn't just this um that it was more accepted in Texas. And one of the
Of
things that
course.
I found interesting as you're telling me that story is the reception of the medical professionals as y'all walk into the hospital. So a little technical part of what happened, and George knows this, but I'm just going to kind of explain it for the people on the podcast, is something that's completely normal. The water's not breaking and you just need a little help to get the baby out. George probably didn't have the tools needed to break the water for the baby because once the water would break, the baby would descend and she probably would have had her within like 15 minutes as soon as the water broke. That's probably what happened when you got to the hospital. But that would just be
Oh yeah.
a transport, which is kind of like the other story, just the midwife pays attention and notices very carefully because again it's this difference between the medicalized aspect of having a baby versus the natural physiological aspect of having a baby where you can recognize the symptoms. I know midwives that can listen to the sound of like the groans and the moans of the mother. I have a funny story. When I was pregnant with my middle child, that was the one that I had across the state lines in Mississippi. I started with my midwife and I called my midwife and my midwife was like, "How do you feel?" And I'm on the toilet and I'm laboring. This favorite place for women to labor on the toilet. And so I'm on the toilet and I'm laboring and so she's talking to me and she's like, "Will you just come when you feel ready?" Get off the phone with her. And the next call was to my doula. And my doula says, "Can you please hand the
Oh
phone
wow.
back to your husband?" And so I hand the phone back to my husband. And I don't know exactly what she said to him, but he came back and he looked at me and he said, "You've got to get in the car right now." There was just this shift between me talking to the midwife and how my body was responding to labor in one second, and in the next second, another professional was noticing that it was like, "Go get in the car like now." And so these midwives aren't just trained in this medical aspect of birth and all the things that could go wrong. They're truly trained in what does it look like naturally when you don't have any intervention, and where is there trouble, and when do you need to transfer and transport? So that's what happened to your wife. She just needed a little extra help, which is perfectly fine. I mean, not the end goal that you had wanted, but like you said, exactly what
Yes.
God intended to happen. And now,
Oh, absolutely.
from my experience with the medical professionals, it is not a friendly environment. I actually last year had a friend that lost her baby. Um, she was 24 weeks, so the baby was going to be stillborn. Went to a midwife checkup, no heartbeat, and so she had to go to a like a center, like one of those freestanding ultrasound centers that they have now. And then,
Right.
so just to also confirm fetal demise, we had to go to the hospital. And the midwife called the physician that was there on call, told her why she was coming. And this is the second baby my friend lost. The first baby my friend lost was several years ago, and she lost her from a Pitocin overdose. So they want to,
Oh,
make it front news that a midwife committed manslaughter, but let's
right.
not talk about the fact that the medical professionals that were overseeing my friend and her baby that day literally killed her by overdosing her with Pitocin. And so she actually lives in Auburn. I got in my car, I felt the Holy Spirit just leading me there. And as soon as I walked into her house, I knew exactly why the Lord had called me there because she had to go back into a hospital and she does not do well in those settings. When we walked in, it was just you could feel this tension between the nurses and even the physician. The physician actually handled me a lot better than the nurses did. They tried to separate us from her, and I looked at them and I was like, "I am so sorry, but I'm not leaving her side. This is her second baby she's lost, and she is just gonna like fall apart if I leave her and if her husband leaves her." And I mean, they tried hardcore instead of being a level of another interaction of comfort and just reassuring her that everything was going to be okay, even though it wasn't okay. There was this adversity that we walked into. It's just a completely different environment that I've experienced with the medical professionals. They treat us like we're dumb, like our midwives are not professionals, like they're not trained. They literally still call us lay midwives in the legislature as if we're like the granny midwives, like Ona. That there's a book on Ona, by the way. She was one of the granny midwives of Alabama. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, I just thought that was really interesting to hear that they were so welcome and receptive to what y'all were doing and how the
Yeah.
atmosphere's just changed over the years. I have no doubt that it's the enemy meddling with the ability for us to give birth in a way that God intended for us to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The enemy wants us right from the beginning to do things against God's design.
Yeah.
Like,
Straight
right?
from the beginning.
Yes. Oh,
Like
absolutely.
literally. So,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question then, kind of talking about transitioning from that adversity. Was there any opposition that you faced in any of the battles that you fought? Because I know midwifery is not the only one that you've spoken out against. Is there any adversity that you faced from the opposition, and how did you navigate all that?
Well, if there's one topic that's so important and the medical profession and the government does not want to battle, it's the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Vaccine, oh my goodness, that is the big one. Like that. So when I told you my children were not vaccinated as kids, but I didn't tell people that. Like that was
Yep.
just a
Nope. We didn't
personal
talk about it.
choice. Yeah, and that same principle, when Brooklyn and Bradley, my oldest two, when they started school, they were a year apart, but we kept my daughter home for kindergarten, so they started school together.
Mm-hmm.
The principal thought we were crazy when I handed her the exempt forms. She really
Mm-hmm.
thought we were nuts. And several years later, she told us, I really thought you guys were crazy, but you're not. And your kids are wonderful. And she said, I even have a friend who didn't vaccinate. Now, this is the 90s. So people, they just thought it was odd. But when COVID came along, oh my goodness, and that was of course, very recent. And again, I never told someone not to get a COVID vaccine, but I
Mm-hmm.
was very vocal about why I would not get one. And
Yep.
I felt a duty, as a doctor, the word doctor and our medical profession forgets this. The word doctor does not mean healer.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a healer. God heals. By the
Yes.
stripes of Jesus.
Say that again.
Yes, God is the healer. Like,
Yes.
and I always tell people, by the stripes of Jesus, you are healed.
Amen.
So why do we have doctors? Well, the word doctor literally means teacher. My job is to help teach you what we need to do to activate that healing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like if somebody puts $1 million in your bank account, Jessica, it does you no good if you don't know how to activate it. You need to
Right.
get to that money for it to be of use. Well, we are healed. We have the ability. We were designed to heal.
Mm-hmm.
But a doctor should help you with that, but teach you how to live with God's will and his ways. And injecting a child or anybody, an adult, when it comes to COVID with a vaccine, again, if you want to do that, that is fine. Just don't make me do that.
Yeah, and I'm
So
really
I
big
had,
on informed consent. I mean, arming people
well,
with information so that they can make decisions for themselves. I am not necessarily pro-vax or even anti-vax. I am just you make the best decisions for your family with the information that you've given, and don't don't suppress information that is true. So like these medical journals that you found about the midwifery care being, okay, and then here we are, the states not even recognizing that information. So,
right. And it's so, but I'm telling you, the vaccine one is a big, big, big. So I was, shut out of Facebook several times. I
hmm
never, I never lied about anything. I've always said the same thing. I don't, I will not wear a mask. I will not
yep.
get a do what you feel led to do, but do not tell me I have to do these things. Oh, I had so much pushback from people I thought were my friends.
hmm
I had one guy, he's just ignorant. He really is. He called up the state board of chiropractic examiners to complain about me because I didn't get the vaccine and that that I was telling people not to get it. Well, I never told people not to get it, and no, everybody knows that. Fortunately, the state board of chiropractic in Alabama, they laughed at him and said, "Sir, it's not against the law for him to not get the vaccine. Like, we can reprimand him."
Yeah.
Um, told me that I have a friend. Actually, I was at a seminar and they were telling the story about somebody calling. And I went up to the speaker afterwards. I said, "That was about me."
Oh
And the
my
guy was
gosh.
like, "Oh my goodness!" I said, "Yeah, I'm the person. I know exactly who called you." And he's just ignorant. But no, a lot of people. Um, but it comes back again to that forcing us to do it.
Hmm.
Jessica, I'll say this real quick because this is good for Christians too to remember. If the government and Bill Gates and all the vaccine people, if 5 years ago, let's say February 2020, before all COVID happened,
Hmm.
if they would have got together and said, "Hey, listen, here's our plan. This COVID is going to hit. And once COVID hits, let's tell the people this. Hey, we don't know what this is. This is horrible. This is deadly. We are going to develop a vaccine as fast as we can, as safely as we can, and we're going to get it to you free of charge." Now, if they would have then said this, you don't have to get it, but we strongly, strongly recommend you do. It's free and it's safe. If they would have said that, Jessica, compliance would have been through the roof.
Probably, yeah. Hmm.
People would have got it, and but they were so they shot themselves in the foot by being so demanding
Yep.
and
And
going against our right.
they
Yeah.
used employers to help lay down.
Yes.
They used employers, friends, shaming friends. I mean, what they did is they
Yes.
created, instead of using that as an opportunity to bring unison back to our country, it created another divide inside of our country.
Yeah. But you know what, Jessica? It also did that. Yeah, you're 100% right. But if 5 years ago you would have sat down and said to me, "Hey, by 2025, so many more people will be questioning the government. So many more people will be questioning the medical profession. And so many people will be questioning all vaccines." I would have said, "Sign me up for that."
Yeah. Well, so it sounds crazy, but of all I know I'm not discounting all the terrible that happened from COVID. There was true mass murder, in my opinion,
Yeah,
from what happened in
yeah,
COVID. But what happened is you and I come from a world, like you said, you had your kids in the 90s and you didn't vaccinate your kids. I had my kids in the early 20 teens and I didn't vaccinate my kids and we didn't talk about it. I literally I'm talking like childhood best friend of mine found out that I didn't vaccinate my kids and I didn't know that I was being that shy about it with the people in my real life, but apparently I was. And she had to question whether or not, I think she had some postpartum anxiety as well. Like I recognized that before this other conversation even happened, but she said that I couldn't bring my two oldest kids around here. So there had been so much propaganda and fear mongering
wow,
within the communities that even this person that knows my heart and knows me and knows that I'm an intelligent person that makes
right,
sound decisions, even though they didn't also agree with me having my babies at home. But the thing is she decided that she was going to create some, division inside of our friendship. Now, full circle, she ended up with cerebral palsy, which is terrible, but she came back to me and said, now that this is after COVID, so that was pre-COVID, literally 2019, and then 2020, 21, whenever the vaccine came out, she came back to me and said, "I now understand." And there's this level of humility
good.
that I just am so thankful that she had. It helped heal wounds because it really hurt. It was also at a rough time in my life when all of that came about, and so just to know that God's brought everything full circle. So as bad as COVID was, it brought to light
Yes.
something that I think is incredibly important and has been incredibly important. Like what's happening right now, and I know that everybody has different opinions on Bobby Kennedy, but what's happening right now with him through this movement that he has, that the president's tasked him with, is, I mean, truly game changing for the health of America. It's not just about
Absolutely.
vaccines. It's
Absolutely.
not just about increased levels of autism. It is not just about all that. You're talking about getting rid of food dyes that cause ADHD in kids. The solution that our government has for ADHD is literally drugs. It is speed. It is stimulants that these kids are going to have to figure out how to live with
Yes.
the withdrawals of for the rest of their life. You're talking about our food system being tampered with. And so, in one of the things that I like to just remember is that even in times that don't seem like they're progressing, God will use situations like that to highlight and reveal evil.
Oh, no, absolutely. That was beautifully said. And yes, but this goes back to the whole purpose of your podcast, which I love. We Christians have to wake up, stand up, and speak out.
Yes.
Not people how to live their lives. No, that's why I said I believe in the separation of church and state. Not trying to legalize, morality. No, you can't put that. You have to do this. No, 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 no. But we have to say, okay, when it comes to things about our health and our well-being and the way the Bible tells us to live, we have to be a voice. We
Yes.
have to speak out. You
Hmm.
know, let your light so shine. And people think Jesus was weak. No, no. Like I love when he was in the temple and overthrew the tables. Like there's a time, and I have what they call righteous anger. Like
Oh man.
evil, we have
Yes.
got to step up and say if something is evil. But again, you say this, I say this. We're not telling people what they should do. Just don't tell me what I have to do.
That's right. Yeah, and Jesus had humility as he walked all of this out. I'm going to look up a Bible verse that I really need to tell you about. It's a really cool story, but he had this humility as he walked about. I had one of the other guests on my podcast said that we're supposed to represent Jesus, and what she means is, and she said it just like this, what that means is represent him. We're supposed to walk out as Christ lived, and Christ had humility, but
Yeah.
Christ also had righteous anger, and Christ also overturned tables. So the verse I'm going to pull from is in Ezekiel, and it's 33:6.
Yes.
And give me one second because my internet is lagging, but this is the second time that this verse is brought up. So Ezekiel, the way that it's structured is it's kind of got like here's the story, and then there's this section inside of Ezekiel where it kind of recaps everything that happens, which I find interesting. So the Lord gave me this verse, like it crazy story. Back to that preaching conference I was telling you about, and when he gave me this verse, but it's very, very specific, and that's one of the reasons why I just knew it was from him. And it's but Ezekiel 33:6. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and fails to blow the ram's horn to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes away a life, then that one will be taken away in his iniquity, but I will hold the watchman accountable for his blood. And God has appointed his people in the positions that you and I have. Like I'm just a mom that just talks to people and just, I just walk out how I live my life and I'm not shy about it. He's got you in the position that you are in so that you can inform people on health from a biblical standpoint. He has these legislators in the positions that they're in. And what he revealed to me in this verse is that we are supposed to let the people know that the sword's coming. We're supposed to let them make
Right.
known their iniquity so that they can make a decision for themselves. Even more so, back to that informed consent. I don't know why that keeps coming up, but if we don't, then we're accountable for it as well.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very good. I like that.
So,
That's good.
God's so good. So, let me ask you another question. How do you think that we can effectively advocate for parental rights and medical freedoms then?
Well, probably, well, two ways. Number one, become more educated.
Hmm.
There's so much information out there on podcasts.
Yep.
Podcasts, do videos, talk to your friends. If you're a mom, talk to other moms. every mom I know is in some group on Facebook, learning stuff. That's fantastic. But really, you need to start talking to your medical doctors.
Okay.
Like here in Mobile, almost every medical doctor, pediatrician, will not see your child if they
Mm-hmm.
don't get the vaccines.
That's right.
That's insane.
Yep.
We need to start speaking out. We need to start not ugly, not fighting, but we need to start
Speaking
talking
truth.
to our doctors. Yes, speak the truth. Hey, doc, I'm about to have a baby. I know you want to give that baby the hepatitis B vaccine the day that child's born. Now, even if a person is terrified about going without vaccines, terrified, I understand that until they become more educated. If your baby is born and your baby that is born is not a drug addict and is not sexually active,
Yeah, I was going to
your
say,
baby,
explain what hepatitis B is. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, it's a disease you get in your liver from drug use and from sex. Um, you know, sex with an unhealthy human being.
Yeah.
Your child does not have hepatitis B. I
Correct.
promise you.
Minimal chances of it getting it. It would be like an
No,
extreme
minimal.
case if it
It
did.
doesn't exist. Like it's
Yes,
so like I've never ever ever heard of a child. I've never heard of a child having
I
hepatitis B.
haven't.
It's not an outbreak. There's not an epidemic. Um, that should not be mandatory. Like
Hmm.
right off the bat. And so, but going back to answer your question, what can we do? We have to become educated, and then we have to talk to our doctors, talk to other parents. Do not try to tell other parents what to do.
That's right.
Explain to them why
Yep.
you do what you do. Make it attractive why you do that. And
Plant
then live
seeds.
the life. Yes, and live a healthy life. Like when you see a mom and her kids are so well behaved, you may say, how are your kids so well behaved? And of course there's many factors, but one is, let's say they don't live on sugar, like they're eating good. Like I don't want to,
Hmm.
we could talk about that all day long, but the thing is we've got to live it and we got to speak it. That's how we start to make change.
Yep. Okay.
Because
Great.
most
Those.
politicians, what's their number one objective? To get reelected.
Say that again, please. I have said that like 4 times in the past 2 days.
Yeah. Well, really, the number one objective of every politician is to get
Is to get
reelected.
reelected,
So,
not to represent their constituents like
yeah,
the way they were supposed to. Correct.
no,
Yes. Yes. That no, they
no,
go in
yeah,
there with, I do
my,
believe that they go in there with good intentions. And I think that some of them, not all of them, but they go in there with good intentions and they get into it and get told that this is how the system works.
no,
And at the
just
end,
I'm
can you hear me? All right, George. So I've got one last question for you, and then I want to hear about how we can find you. What is one final piece of wisdom that you'd like to share with the listeners?
keep it simple, stupid. That acronym KISS.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like the word stupid, but we overcomplicate things so much. And I'm talking about health. God gave us sunlight. The sun is good for us. I'm not saying to go out and get burned.
Yep.
He gave us water, fresh air. We're supposed to sleep. We're supposed to eat foods that He gave us.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to have fun with one another, be in social settings. He gave each one of us a purpose. Life should be fun. We should be working towards goals. We should be doing that with other people. We should be living with nature, not in opposition to it.
Yep.
We should be healthy. We shouldn't need doctors to throw pills at us. We should find doctors that are going to teach us how to be healthy. But I say all that to lead to this. We should also fight when
Yes.
those rights are taken from us, to live our life the way God intended to. As a Christian, I'm very tolerant of people who have views other than mine. Just don't force those views on me.
Yeah.
But as a Christian, if there is something that is wrong that's going on, the government is enforcing something and it's infringing on your rights as a Christian, we need to stand up and we need to be heard. I like
Yes.
what you said from Ezekiel 33:6. We have to also look out for the welfare of other people who don't necessarily have the platform you have or I have, or the nerve. Like people during COVID, I won't get into all this, but I had bought books, Robert Kennedy's book on Dr. Fauci,
Mm-hmm.
the real Anthony Fauci. And it tells the truth about how Fauci, even back in the 80s, how corrupt he's been. I bought a bunch of those books and gave them out. And I had people come up to me asking me to buy a whole bunch for them, but they didn't want to buy it because they didn't want Amazon to know they bought the books.
That is, well, I mean, Big Brother is
But
listening.
that's,
Isn't that ironic that there was a Big Brother
oh,
show and then here we are?
yes. No, but I'm called to do these things. You're called to do these things.
Yes.
Not everybody's called to do that. So I don't make fun of those people. And I don't make fun of the guy in his car driving by himself wearing a mask. I don't make fun of him. He's not telling me to do that. So
No, he's just
leave
doing,
people alone. Yes, what he feels best. But you fight and be bold, and God, the Holy Spirit, will give you the strength to
yes.
speak out.
Hmm.
It's so noble to speak out when you know you're right. You're speaking truth,
That's
and
right.
you're not telling other people what to do.
That's right. So,
So that's what we can do. Get healthier and speak up about it.
can I pray over the listeners as you mentioned that? I just feel led to just pray over them. So I'm going to just jump straight in. Father God, we just thank you for the opportunity to speak life into these people.
Sure.
God, we just ask that you just give them boldness, that you just give them conviction to speak out for your will, whatever that may be. You give us all different callings in your life. Mine's been with midwifery. George's has been midwifery at some point, and health freedoms. God, we just ask that you just illuminate what those callings are, that you nudge them into that area of their life that they just have to speak out and be bold in Jesus' name. So, George, thank you. Thank you for just coming on, speaking your heart and everything. Can you tell my listeners
Oh,
how they can find you? Like,
my,
I listen to your podcast. I love it. You've been, a friend of mine since we first stepped into your chiropractic office, but now we listen and I love that. So tell us how we can find you.
all right, so yeah, I have a podcast. It's called Get Healthy Alabama. You don't have to live in Alabama to listen to it, but Get Healthy Alabama. Uh, you can get it at my website, gethealthyalabama.com.
Hmm.
But of course, you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I have a new episode every Wednesday. I always keep it to under 20 minutes because I don't always want to listen to a 3 hour podcast. And we cover we cover healthy topics, and really I throw in a lot of my faith into it.
Yeah.
But I love that. My office, I practice in Saraland, Alabama, Atlas Chiropractic, and it's tryatlaschiropractic.com. I'm there Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. I love what I do. I do a lot of nutrition work with people,
Hmm.
very holistic. But tryatlaschiropractic.com or gethealthyalabama.com or at Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Get Healthy Alabama. Every Wednesday morning, a new episode comes out.
Awesome. I will be sure and add links to all of those inside of my podcast notes so that everybody can grab them there if they want to. So again, thank you so much. I've,
Right.
been great to know you, watch you, listen to your story again. I know we've had this conversation several times, but I'm thankful that you came on and shared it with my listeners. So, thank you guys for joining us.